Hello, I am the Gullible Giant, and today I'm being joined by my very special guest, Mr. Thriftshop XL. So, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm fine, thanks. Yourself?
Ah, very good. Guess first things first. What is it exactly that you do?
What do I do as Thriftshop XL?
Yes.
Well, I haven't done it for a while. I mainly DJ these days with visuals. So that's also known as being a VJ, a video jockey. But what I used to do a lot more of is making mashups, which now is a thing that everybody knows about. But when I started doing it a long time ago, it was a magical, mystical thing that no one had ever heard of, and it made everybody really freaked out.
Wow. It's pretty impressive. So, what is your favorite bit about being a VJ?
Well, I have always been a creative person. So when I was at school, I liked drawing, and then when I got a bit older at school, I got hold of a film camera and I started making films and animations, and then I went to film school to do all of that kind of stuff. And then when I finished film school, I wanted to keep doing creative stuff, so I kept making films and stuff. And then I found this music software that allowed me to do that, and I just started doing that, and it's because I like being creative.
So, at what point in that process would you say you started doing the mashups?
I made my first real mashup in the year 1999,
Wow.
and at the time there was no word for it. The word mashup meant something else in 1999. It was a word that Afro-Caribbean people used to describe having like a kind of a fun time. So they would mash up the place, right? So so I started doing it because there was a brand new piece of Sony software called Acid Pro, which was the first software that always kept all of your samples in time regardless of the tempo, because before that, if you played a sample, if you wanted to go up a semitone, it just played the sample faster and faster and faster and faster to get the different pitches. Whereas Acid Pro allowed a 3-second sample to go up 3 semitones but still stay 3 seconds long. So that meant that if I could find an a cappella from a pop song that was 110 beats per minute and put it over an instrumental from another pop song in the same key that was at 130 beats per minute, then I could match them up really easily. And so that software came out in 1999 or 2000, I think.
And how long do you think you used Acid Pro for? I mean, do you still use it today, or?
Still use it, and they still make it. It's on version 9, I think, or version 10. It's no longer made by Sony. About 2 years ago, a different company took it over. But it's still there. And it's the software that Reaper's based on, if you've ever used Reaper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's, I think you can get a free version of it, or but it's kind of open source and it's made by fans and everything. But yeah.
Have you ever had to travel to do any of this? Have you ever traveled anywhere?
Yeah, there's some posters at the back there. In fact, this one here with the 2 faces,
Yeah.
that's from a worldwide club called Booty. Because what I should explain to you is that when I found out that the thing that I thought only I was doing was actually being done by lots of other people, mainly in the UK, they called themselves bootleggers, and they called what they were doing bootlegs because it wasn't legal. So they were just doing it for fun, but at that time was the first time that people started file sharing. So it meant that not only could you get music over the internet, but you could put music on the internet as well. So it meant suddenly you didn't have to go to a record label. You could just put your own music on your website or whatever. And so that is called Booty because it's short for bootlegger. And a guy called Adrian Roberts started that club in San Francisco. And then he opened one in Berlin and one in Munich and one in Sydney and one in London. And I've played at some of those. So that one is from when I played at the one in Berlin.
And what was it like discovering this whole new world of music?
It was cool. I'm not really a musician. I can dabble a little bit on a keyboard. I've always made music, but I have never studied it. I like electronic music. When I was young, electronic music was new and everybody hated it because it was seen as being a bit inferior because you didn't need to know how to play. But I really liked it because it didn't sound like any other music. So I was always into that. And I was into early rap and hip hop and a style of music called electro, which were just really beat heavy and had lots of samples and lots of science fiction noises and stuff in it. And I wanted to do it for myself. So that's what I did. And I just always sort of messed about making music or backing tracks. And because I make films, I used to make my own music for that as well. So yeah, I liked when I started making mashups, which was, like I say, about 1999 or 2000. The UK pop charts was full of a kind of music called R&B, which isn't the kind of R&B that your mum and dad would know, like old blues players, but things like Beyonce, so it was groups like Destiny's Child. I wasn't really a fan of that stuff. So what those singers tended to do when they released a CD, they would have the original track as track 1 on the single, then track 2 there'd maybe be a remix, and then track 3 might be the instrumental, but then track 4 they would have an a cappella version. And so if you could find that, you could then put that over someone else's music and then make a new creation. So that's what I was doing. I was basically taking that kind of music and putting it over the kind of music that I liked, or putting it over music that I thought was funny.
Circling back to the traveling, where's your favorite place that you've been?
Doing this job?
Yeah.
Well, the Berlin one was great because that nightclub was in a little kind of, it was almost like a nightclub village where there was a skate park, and it was an old, some old factory buildings, and some of the factories had like massive tall chimneys, but they turned them into climbing walls, like, you know, for rock climbers and stuff. And it was all closed off, so you had these little back streets with people selling food and folk dancing outside. And the actual club that I played at, a place called Cassiopeia, had like 4 or 5 different floors with lots of different stuff going on. And those guys, when I went to Germany, set up loads of video projections for me. And it was a really good show, and there was about 3,000 people, and I played 2 sets. One set, the early set, was at midnight until 2 a.m. and then my late set was 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. and I was quite tired.
I can imagine. Do you wish to play a fun game?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Okay. So I've entitled it Procrastination Recreation. So
okay.
You're going to have 30 seconds and you need to try and talk about DJing without saying the word visual.
Oh, that's difficult. Okay, you can let me know when to start.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, well, VJing is a bit like audio DJing, but you use moving images which are projected or put on screens in time with the music. So it's a whole kind of it's a whole kind of adds a new element. So instead of just having music and lights, you can have music and animation, or music and pop videos, or
Well done. Okay. Well done. You have won yourself a prize.
oh great.
You have
What do I
won
win?
some bragging rights.
Oh, excellent. Well done, you. Thank you.
I shall get those to you as soon as humanly possible.
Great. Oh, that's good. That's good.
And so how long would you say you've been VJing?
So I have been VJing since about 2002, I think, which doesn't seem like a long time ago to me, but then when I think about it, it was. So at that time, laptops weren't really powerful enough to produce full motion video, and even some desktop computers weren't. So what I did was I used to make DVDs of my set, and then I used to get those little DVD players that you get for the car, and I had two of those, one there and one there. And then I bought a second-hand television mixer for video mixing with one of those T-bar things on it to mix between that one and that one. So I couldn't really beat match where the beats go in time with each other. But I could fade from one tune to the next and add some cheesy effects and stuff like that. So that was quite novel. Not many people were doing that. In fact, only one other guy that I know of, somebody called Eclectic Method, who's also still going. He's in Spain. He was doing that, and he was doing a similar thing as well. But then in about 2007, Pioneer, that makes DJ equipment, they make a CD deck for DJs called the CDJ, and they've been doing that for years. So it looks like a little black box with a plate on top, a bit like where you would put a record, and you can put a CD in it, and then you can scratch it and do all that kind of stuff. Well, in about 2007 or round about then, they invented the DVJ, which was a DVD version of that. So it meant for the first time I could actually properly DJ like I used to do when I was at college, with two things and adjust the pitch and all that kind of stuff. So that was quite good. But that was only standard definition, and I wanted to do stuff in high definition. So then I spent an incredible amount of money on an amazing Alienware laptop with the most amazing graphics card and the most amazing amount of space inside it. And then I converted all of my videos, and then I started doing things from the laptop, and that's what I've been doing ever since. So now, instead of having to cart around a gigantic flight case with a big mixer in it and all these big bits of kit, I just take a laptop and an HDMI cable and my controller. And I've got a couple of controllers. I'll show you them if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Hang on a second. So the first controller is down here. I'll just get it out of my special controller bag, which is actually the thing that I got my pillows in. It's pretty good because I can carry it about like a little suitcase.
Yeah.
So this thing is my live performance controller, which I use at gigs. There you go. And that's got everything you need with the crossfader and the plates that spin round and the pads and the EQ and everything. And then you can see on that side, that's where it all plugs in. does all of that. So I use that when I do gigs. And then when I'm at home, I've got this guy here, which is far, far smaller. And this is my little teensy weensy one,
Oh, wow.
which has got all pretty much the same stuff on it. And that just, I can actually sit that, I don't know if I can do this, let's have a look. I can sit that on the laptop itself.
Wow.
And then do that. So there we go.
That's got to be pretty handy.
Good. Just fits right in my pocket.
And you'd have to have a pretty big pocket, but yeah.
Once you take that, once you take it out of that case, it's much smaller.
Yes. So, what do you think the future is for mashups and VJing and that kind of thing? Do you think it's going in the right direction?
Well, I think I've got a few thoughts on that for you, Sandy. One is that obviously, right up until coronavirus, things were going one way. But now, things like live music and lots of people being in the same space is not such a good idea. So that's one thing to bear in mind. So that might mean doing visuals and things when people live stream. So lots of the live streaming services like Twitch and Mixcloud all offer video as part of their streaming. So if you're a standard DJ, you just play audio. So those guys are starting to get into not VJing as such, but at least presenting some kind of visuals. But I don't know. I think that people like to be entertained from all their senses. So I think that doing visuals for music, whether that's a live band, I've done visuals for some live bands. I had some friends in a band in Glasgow called Hoboken, and I used to do visuals that matched their songs. So they had a big projection behind them with relevant visuals and stuff like that. So people like that kind of thing. So I think as long as there's going to be people playing music, and I don't just mean DJing, I mean like people in bands and stuff like that, then there's always a future for kind of enhancing the performance with a bit of visuals. Some people might say distracting the audience with some visuals.
Thank you very much for talking to us. I've got a quick quiz to wrap us up. There's 3 questions. If you get all 3 correct, you get an even bigger prize.
Great. That sounds amazing.
So these are all questions related to you. So on YouTube, how many subscribers do you have?
Oh, I don't know, but last time I looked, I think it was probably about 5,000 or something.
Okay, you're at 9.27 thousand. So.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yes.
Great. Well done, me.
On said YouTube channel, what is your most viewed video?
Oh, that's easy. That's going to be my 10-year-old Nirvana Rick Astley mashup, which they now do live. They actually, well, I say they do it live. Here's a thing, right, quickly. Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley, the Rickroll song, is in a different key to Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. To my ears, the two fit. But if you go through the comments, you'll see that every 3 or 4 comments, and I probably get about 15 comments a day on that video, a lot of them say, they're in 2 different keys. Well, I don't care. It sounds fine to me. But because of that, it was about 2 years ago in Japan when the Foo Fighters, and that's, do you know the Foo Fighters?
Yeah.
Dave Grohl used to be the drummer in Nirvana.
Yeah.
So they were playing in Japan, and they announced to the audience that they had a special guest, and Rick Astley came on.
Oh, wow.
And then they started playing a song that sounded a bit like Smells Like Teen Spirit, but in the correct key. And then Rick Astley sang Never Gonna Give You Up. And then I got about 1 million emails from people all around the world going, oh my goodness, have you seen the Foo Fighters and Rick Astley have actually performed your mashup to like 50,000 people? So they've done it about 4 or 5 times now. And as you can see, I'm a millionaire.
Yes, it's very impressive. And your final question is, according to musicbrains.org, what was your first album?
What was my first album? Was it called... well, that depends. I've made a few, but only some made it onto the internet. Could it be Weapons of Mass Distraction?
That's not the answer I've got here. I've got Santastic Holiday Boots for Your Stockings.
Okay, so
means...
I'll tell you something about that. That actually isn't one of my albums. That's an album that I put. It's a compilation album that I was asked to contribute a song for, a Christmas-themed mashup, and that was organised by my friend in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's a guy called Bob Cronin, who goes under the name of DJ BC, and he does that every year, called Santastic. Yeah.
And that unfortunately means you do not win
Oh.
the prize of some more bragging rights.
So I can't brag about having both bragging rights, right?
Yes, it's very sad. But we have to say goodbye now. So it's a goodbye from me. Goodbye. And,
bye. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're a great interviewer. I've really enjoyed it. That's great.
Yes, thank you for joining us, and goodbye.